Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to News Dose. So, as we talked about yesterday, there's a lot of controversy that surrounds the Game Awards this year, and I understand that there are some validity concerns with the actual award portion of the show, which isn't a great look for, a show that's quite literally named the Game Awards out of all things. But the truth of the matter is, despite its name, this show under Geoff Keighley is much more of a hype reveal showcase than anything else. And, well, apparently, Xbox will be in on the action this year. They're already teasing fans that they have something in store for them this year, so we will get in all of that today, as well as a big new game announcement from Capcom. They've already announced the game for early 2024, and talk about not wanting to miss something. You're definitely going to want to see this game. It looks absolutely fantastic. With that said, though, let's go get things started off today with a new Sony partnership that was just announced this morning. Sony and NCSoft have signed a strategic partnership together. Now, if you're unaware of who that is, NCSoft is a Korean studio most known for their work on some big-time MMOs such as Guild Wars and Blade & Soul, but this partnership doesn't sound like it's solely designed to just bolster PlayStation's console games. Instead, it's being described as expanding the PlayStation brand, which includes mobile gaming as well. Even in Jim Ryan's statement, he went on to say that partnering with NCSoft advances our strategy to expand beyond console and broaden PlayStation's reach to a wider audience. Like SIE, NCSoft shares a similar vision in creating high-quality, impactful entertainment experiences for players everywhere, and together, we're excited to collaborate to push the boundaries of gaming further. So reading that, what I would kind of expect out of this partnership is for them to utilize NCSoft's mobile expertise with PlayStation IP and really try to create some mobile experiences out of them. We already know about the leaked Horizon MMO. This was reported on last year that NCSoft, out of all companies, is working on a Horizon MMO with a stylized art style. We've even seen early gameplay footage because it has leaked out online. And this newly signed contract, it does further seem to line up with that leak. They've already been working together for a while, but mobile gaming, I mean, this is something that we are seeing pretty much across the industry right now. Even if you look at Xbox's future, one of the reasons that they went out and acquired a studio like Activision is because of King and their mobile expertise. Publishers across the industry, whether that be PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, Ubisoft, or even Capcom, as we've seen this year, they're trying to position themselves to have a better foothold on the mobile side of things. We are starting to see phones get even more powerful. They are now starting to be capable of running AAA quality games, and well, NCSoft in this case, they seem to be a big part of Sony's strategy in establishing their foothold in the mobile industry. Now, speaking of PlayStation, we also got an update for Naughty Dog's next games, as Neil Druckmann was asked about the future of The Last of Us. He said that they currently have no update for The Last of Us beyond the remaster of Part 2, but he also went on to note that they have other projects in the works at Naughty Dog. So they apparently do have multiple projects in development right now, which, I mean, I think that that's already kind of known to at least some degree. We've seen a lot of job listings over the years, and if you kind of put things together, it does sound like that they have at least one new IP in development. I believe that is their next big project. I believe it will be a new IP, which is something that Naughty Dog does very, very well. They've never been a studio that rests on their laurels too much. They've consistently produced hit franchise after hit franchise, and they seem to move on with each console generation, whether that be with Crash Bandicoot on the PlayStation 1, Jak and Daxter on the PlayStation 2, Uncharted, which started on the PlayStation 3, The Last of Us, which continued on with the PlayStation 4, and hopefully with whatever this next game is, hopefully we will see it by the end of the generation for the PlayStation 5. As for the other projects that they're teasing, though, this could be a number of different things. He could be referring to Factions 2, that apparently is still in development, even if things have slowed down. We've heard it's on ice or whatever, but it is supposedly still alive. And from the job listings that we've seen, there's rumors out there that they're overseeing a new project with a newly formed San Diego PlayStation studio. This new studio put out a job listing that says they're working on a quote-unquote beloved PlayStation franchise with Naughty Dog. So, I mean, we could maybe see the return of either Uncharted or Jak and Daxter under this new studio. Now, I assume that it will be Uncharted just because of how big that series has been for PlayStation, which, I mean, for me, I'll be thrilled about since I love that series. But Naughty Dog certainly seems to have a lot on their plate at the moment, and I think that's a great thing to hear if you enjoy their games. Now, let's go talk about Xbox, though, because in the official Xbox newsletter, interestingly enough, they've started to invite their subscribers to tune in to the Game Awards. You can see this image here that's being shared online, and you can see that it says, celebrate the best games of the year and the big winners live at the Game Awards, along with important announcements and other Xbox news that you don't want to miss. And it's that part there that is so interesting. Now, there's already been rumors floating around that Xbox has something to reveal at the Game Awards. We still have no idea what this something is, but from the wording here, it sounds like they have something planned this year, which I think is the smart thing to do. That took a lot of criticism last year for not showing up at the Game Awards with any type of announcement. And I mean, in hindsight, they did have their own showcase like 2 months later where they revealed Hi-Fi Rush. So I mean, you can say that they were just saving all their reveals until then. And okay, but the thing is, the Game Awards attracts a massive audience beyond just Xbox fans. So it's a great way of advertising your products and games to an even more expansive audience that you might not necessarily get at your own first-party showcase. So ideally, if you do have something ready to show, the Game Awards is about as good of a place as any to put your product in front of as many people as you possibly can. Whether you like the Game Awards or not, again, I understand some of the criticisms that they've had this year, but it is a big showcase, and platform holders especially should absolutely take advantage of its massive viewership. With that said, though, the question really is, what exactly is Xbox cooking up here? They claim that it'll have Xbox news that you won't want to miss. That doesn't necessarily mean that it will be a first-party announcement or even an internal announcement, but Xbox fans will want to tune in. And I was thinking about some Xbox news that could potentially show up here, and there's a few things that comes to mind beyond just first-party announcements. We'll come back to that in a moment, but first is Xbox Game Pass news. They could show some new Day 1 Xbox Game Pass games here, or even an update for already known titles like Stalker 2 or Hollow Knight Silksong as an example. I mean, Silksong is a big anticipated Day 1 Game Pass title that was originally planned for 2023. Technically, we still got 1 month left, so hey, maybe we could get a shadow launch here, or at least a soonish December release date. Probably not. I wouldn't get my hopes up too much, but I'm just kind of throwing that out there. Really, any kind of news for Silksong by this point would be very welcome. Baldur's Gate 3 is another game to keep an eye on here. Larian has already told fans to expect a release date announcement for Xbox at the Game Awards, so you can just go ahead and kind of pencil that announcement in unless something unexpected pops up. More than likely, though, Baldur's Gate 3 will get a December release date for Xbox alongside its newest patch for all platforms. Again, as we talked about in a prior video, Xbox Series S ironically has helped improve performance across all platforms. That's an interesting turn of events, but everybody will benefit from the extra work made on the Xbox Series S. Now, as for 2 surprise announcements that could maybe happen here, could be related to new hardware. If you remember right, we've already seen the internal leaked documents from Microsoft, and we know for a fact that Xbox has been experimenting with a new controller and a new quote-unquote mid-generation refreshed Xbox Series console. Now, I wouldn't look at those leaked documents as the final design or anything like that. We'll see how they turn out, and it might still be a little too early to reveal that next Xbox console unless it has a soonish release date, which that would be a little bit surprising. But as for the new controller, on the other hand, that could make for a cool announcement at the Game Awards. Maybe a new controller with haptic feedback in the trigger, similar to the PlayStation 5 DualSense controller. Phil Spencer has suggested that he likes this idea, and maybe we could see something like that here. As for the first-party games, though, I think this is where things start to get really interesting, because I think by this point, just because they have so many studios and so many games in development, it's very difficult to guess which games, if any, that they'll show. I mean, what we currently know is that Avowed and Hellblade 2 are planned for 2024, so both of those games have a realistic chance of being here. And then there's Clockwork Revolution as well. I've seen some speculation that it could maybe be next year as well, but that doesn't necessarily rule out a gameplay update or a surprise reveal from something else. I mean, they still have games like State of Decay 3, you have Indiana Jones, we know nothing about that game, Everwild, Perfect Dark needs an update, Gears 6 is in development, and there's also South of Midnight. We've yet to see gameplay for any of these games, so an update could go a long way in building hype for these different projects. But, you know, the real crazy part here is that this is only a portion of what we know Xbox has in development. I mean, you have to think that they now have Activision Blizzard with all of their studios, so they could technically announce something together at the Game Awards and really let the gaming world feel the combination of the two together now that the acquisition has gone through. There's also Bethesda and studios like id Software. It's been a while since Doom Eternal has released, so could they have a surprise in store with something like the next Quake as an example? You know, like I keep saying, Xbox, they just have so many games in development right now, from new IP to existing franchises. So it is kind of hard to pinpoint what exactly they could reveal here. But one thing is for sure, it definitely sounds like Xbox fans will want to tune into the Game Awards this year. It could be a small announcement or it could be a big announcement. We'll kind of see about that, but it sounds like they do have something planned for the Game Awards. If you do miss it though, of course, I will keep you in the loop as soon as we hear more. Now, we do have one other big game to talk about here, though, because Capcom just had a lengthy showcase for Dragon's Dogma 2 where they revealed a ton of gameplay and, more importantly, its release date. We now know when we can play it ourselves, and I mean, throughout the entire year, Capcom has repeatedly mentioned that they have a big game set for early 2024 that will sell millions of copies, and now we officially know that they were referring to Dragon's Dogma 2 as it's now set to release on March 22nd of 2024. And I mean, this is a huge game to kick the next year off with. Its gameplay looks incredibly impressive. The visuals for an RPG of this size, it looks fantastic. I love the monster designs in this game, and that is one thing about this series. They do put a lot of effort into the monster design specifically, and they went above and beyond in Dragon's Dogma 2. They showed this towering monster today, and the scale and its visuals was just so impressive. This battle specifically reminded me a lot of Shadow of Colossus, one of my all-time favorite games. That is such a fantastic game. But Dragon's Dogma 2 has always taken some inspiration from Shadow of Colossus, but in this battle specifically, it really showcases that. And I mean, I was just blown away by the gameplay that they revealed here. That is something that I want to talk about, though. All the combat that you see in this game is non-scripted segments. At times, it might look like an encounter was designed to be a very specific way just because it's so impressive, and that's a pretty normal thing to do with modern-day games. But according to the game's director, Dragon's Dogma 2 doesn't have scripted events. He even told a story to Edge magazine last month about a troll encounter that he had, and he said that I was just running away for lack of anything better to do, but it kept following me. I didn't know how I was going to survive. So apparently he ran off to a nearby village in the game where the villagers actually helped fight off the troll. He didn't want on to say that it felt like a scripted event, but Dragon's Dogma 2 doesn't have scripted events. There are no invisible flags or triggers that cause certain events to occur. And that is incredibly impressive stuff that I feel is important to kind of understand with this game. So all of those gameplay segments that they've revealed, at least according to the director, your experience will be different. It's all unscripted, and it'll depend on how the player approaches each situation. Either way, though, Dragon's Dogma 2 both sounds and looks pretty exciting. I think this game only looks better the more that we see it. And now that we know that it's coming out, I think even sooner than what a lot of us expected. I know I didn't expect it to be this early on, but again, it will release on March 22nd of 2024. So go ahead and mark your calendars. Let's go take a look at the poll of the day, though, where I asked you all, do you agree with Geoff Keighley's stance on indie games that it's a broad term? And yeah, the majority of you all absolutely don't agree with him here. 77% voted that he was wrong. Though I do have to be honest here, because I am a little bit surprised that even 14% would vote that he has a point. I mean, to me personally, this seems pretty straightforward. Independent by the very definition means free from outside control, not depending on another's authority. I don't really see a defensible reason in Geoff Keighley's response to this situation, and I think it comes off as an excuse simply to defend his so-called prestigious showcase and the validity of the awards. A mistake like this brings the whole show's awards into question, because if they can't even get a simple thing like this right, you have to wonder how much knowledge these voters actually have. But the thing for me, and the thing that really bothers me, is that Geoff Keighley takes zero accountability. I don't like the fact that he keeps hiding behind his voters, because at the end of the day, he is still in control. He could have simply looked at the nominees and said, okay, I get why you all voted for Dave the Diver, because it does look like an independent game. We all understand that. But it's not, which even Nexon and Mint Rocket, the developers, they admit to that. It's not an independent game. It's backed by $1 billion publisher. So Geoff Keighley could have fixed the problem by simply, going with the next most voted nominee, one that is actually independent. But instead, he decided to deflect with, in my opinion, an illogical statement. Games like Ori, Pentiment, and in this case, Dave the Diver, they're not independent games simply because of their art style. I mean, if they want to make a different category for small budget games, then okay, that's fine, but that's not what they're doing. If you're going to name the award Best Independent Game of the Year, the rule seems pretty straightforward. It needs to be an independent game. I really don't see an argument against this, but I guess it is what it is. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.